So, John, looking back on this season, is it fair to say the turning point was QPR for the team?
I don't know. I think first of all we're not at that stage yet where we're looking back on the season. We're still very focused on making sure that we finish the job in terms of staying in the league. And as much as there's a lot of outside noise about seemingly having enough points or maybe sides struggling to catch us, it's a very real danger. I think that we don't want to become that side. So we're very much focused on Coventry. In the moment now, I think that the QPR game did us a lot of favours in terms of resetting as a squad.
Well, you've got 11 points from 15 since then, which is remarkable, and the level of performances and the teams you've beaten as well. What happened? I know you sort of said, it was always you hadn't played badly until that point, but suddenly you're scoring goals, you're getting clean sheets, all after QPR.
I think there's a culmination of things. We've not changed fundamentally as a side. The players haven't got hugely better. I think the mentality's been spot on. I think it was really helped and buoyed by the equaliser at Norwich. And confidence is a big thing, momentum's a big thing in football, and we had that going into the Oxford game, and we had it coming out of the Oxford game because we got the last minute winner. And things have fallen for us, the last minute equaliser. Things have fallen for us that they perhaps weren't doing previously. But we've dealt with that really well. I think we've dealt with the adversity of going a goal down against Norwich and going a goal down against Oxford, where perhaps we didn't do that quite well enough in the previous games. And yeah, I don't know, but one of the things we spoke about in that run where we hadn't won many games was that the games were tight. We were probably on top and dominating games. And if you look at Wrexham, for example, we had something like 17 corners in the second half and didn't look like scoring all of a sudden. And because our set pieces are much more threatening and we scored 5 set pieces in 5 games, that's a difference maker in a game. I think we played far better against Wrexham, against Sheffield United, against Hull, against Preston than we did yesterday. But we've taken the point because we've put the ball in the back of the net from a set piece and properly defended the box when we needed to.
The international break that subsequently happened, was that a chance to reset players mentally, physically? Has that helped?
Yeah, it definitely helped. It was one of those where after a loss like that, sometimes you think, it's best to get straight back on it and play a game on the Tuesday. I said at the time we needed the break. We needed the break mentally. We needed the break physically. We had a lot of players who were extremely tired. They were out on their feet. We picked up a couple of injuries around that time as well. So since then, we've now got a fully fit Connor Shotmassey back. We managed to play him twice in a week this week for the first time in a long time. We started to pick up a few more players back. Hence now we're looking at leaving 5 or 6 out of every single matchday squad. But I think it was probably more the mental reset than anything else. We had time to sit down, reflect, decide a couple of bits, not necessarily tactically, but decide how we're going to go about games, how we're going to be a bit more difficult to play against, and come out the other side of it. And thankfully it's paid off. And
presumably meetings were held as well in the aftermath of QPR.
Yeah, we had a very long meeting at Loftus Road, and then we came back in to the training ground. We had about 2 or 3 hours with the lads on the first day we were back. The second day we were back, we went through the QPR game and had a bit more time then and put everything to bed. And we kept sort of going back over things that we needed to go back over. But mainly for me, it was about making sure that we had a group of honest players in there who wanted to speak and wanted to contribute. It wasn't just me that was talking. We pulled ourselves out of the hole, and regardless of what we did for the last 8 games, it was about showing fight and showing some determination to stay in the league.
Understandably, plenty lost belief after the QPR result. Did you always still have the faith in your team?
I did, because of the build-up. I was obviously upset after the QPR game, but the build-up to that had been 5 games where I thought we were extremely competitive. And the QPR game, even though we got blown away, it wasn't a 6-1. It was one where everything just flew into the back of the net. Of course, that's not acceptable. We should have played a lot better on the day, but I knew we could do it. I knew that confidence was low, but I was looking back at lads that wanted to play and wanted to fight and wanted to run, and that gave me a lot of belief and a lot of confidence. I didn't envisage us picking up this many points, I don't think, as quickly as we have done, but as I reflect on the 5 games, I can see how we've done it, and I can see how the boys have done it and deserved it. So, I think if you lose faith, you're done for, because it seeps quickly into the players, and they would have sniffed that as well. So it was all about being positive and but being realistic about the situation as well. And I think I've always said that in my time here: be extremely positive, but have that dose of realism too.
And you're getting squad players now coming to the team and helping you win match after match.
Yeah, it's really important. I bang on about it all the time. Sometimes I get selection wrong. Players will always disagree with me in terms of whether they're starting or not. We've had players since the international break, the likes of Luke Leroux, coming in and performing really well against Norwich, and unfortunately then coming out on the side for himself, but being at it and being ready. all of a sudden Iban Boat, who hasn't started a game since Southampton, has got to come on and play for the majority of the game. Jordan Williams is an absolute shining example of a player who's bided his time and then started 3 games in a week all of a sudden in the most important time of the season. And we've got to keep going with that, because we picked up 2 more injuries at the weekend. We need players to come in, we need players to perform, and we need players to make sure that we do get over the line.
Have you changed the way you play?
Not fundamentally, but we've talked about maybe being slightly more direct early on, and sometimes that filters into being a bit more direct for 90 minutes. I think that ironically yesterday was such a scrappy game, really poor game of football, but when we actually scored, the build up to us winning the corner, just before that we actually got into our shape, played some really good football. We found Seggs, Colby found Seggs around the corner for that really good chance, and off the back of the goal kick we went and won the corner. So there's still plenty of opportunities for us to play. Just want to maybe take the pressure off the lads and simplify things a little bit. But what's blindingly obvious to me is that I think we can still be incredibly ruthless in both boxes, like we have been over the past few games, but still play good football in between that. It's just sometimes difficult to get the balance, and the mentality sometimes is right. If we're going to be properly ruthless on the front foot, then maybe we have to be more direct. I don't think that's the case, but maybe that comes with getting better as a side.
You say you're not changing it fundamentally. Has that happened since QPR as well?
Yeah, we just had that conversation about, right, what we're going to do. Norwich was a good start, right? What we're going to do away at Norwich. We are very deliberate, slow the game down. We don't want to invite pressure. Early on at QPR, I thought we could play, and we could play around their shape quickly. I didn't think we got it hugely tactically wrong, but whatever message I'd given to the players meant that we were too slow and we played in front of them too much, and that was 100% my fault. Norwich, we decided to go a bit differently. Oxford, we completely went the opposite way. So we said against Oxford, we want to be the front foot, we want to play, we want to absolutely kill them by playing football, and we did that for 17 minutes. And then it's been a mixture since then. So Middlesbrough was much more Norwich-like. Ipswich was closer to Oxford, but with a bit more defensive display. And yesterday was just a bit of a scrappy game of football.
Well, you remember Sheffield United here and Hull here, where you absolutely dominated possession and still ended up losing.
Yeah, and those are 2 examples of games where I think we can do that. I think we can play as well as we did there and win that game and win those games. I just think we weren't clinical enough in the final third, and we didn't take advantage enough of those set pieces that we created. And that, you know, I think they were obviously big, frustrating days. I thought Derby was pretty similar as well. But, you know, what's changed? I don't think a huge amount has changed since then, but we have been on the receiving end of scoring that set play, and maybe a couple of refereeing decisions here and there that we weren't on the receiving end of, Hull, for example. So, yeah, it's always a strange one to try and get the right balance.
Obviously, Coventry on Tuesday night. Min-Hyuk Yang went there. He's not really been involved there. Are you surprised with that?
Yeah, I think it was obviously a decision made where Tottenham wanted to get him to the best side in the league, and no issue with that. And he played early on. They've got some very, very good wingers there, and if you look at the wingers that have played the majority of the season, you've got Mason Clark and Sakamoto in behind that. Thomas Asante, Esse, signed Markello in January, signed Min-Hyuk in January. Brodoni's played out there a little bit. So tough ask, I think, to go into a side that's top of the league. Because Min-Hyuk did very, very well here. He's a good player and he'll have a good career.
How do you think he did overall here then?
I think he had a real impact. 3 goals, a couple of assists. Obviously scored that really memorable goal against Charlton. We thought for a young lad he was having a very good loan in terms of that exposure, in terms of the ups and downs of what it's like in the Championship, especially for a struggling side. So I was really pleased with his contribution overall.
Why did Spurs call him back?
I think it was a combination of having the opportunity to go to Coventry towards the back end of Min-Hyuk's loan here. He hadn't played a huge amount either. So he did come on against Coventry, but he hadn't started many games previous to that. When we played against Bristol City, I think on January the 1st, he was an unused substitution. So, you can understand that the players wanted to get their players a little bit more playing time.
He's not even making any squads at Coventry though.
Yeah, obviously for them they'd have made that without thinking that was going to be the case. It happens sometimes, right? We've brought loan players in here that we thought were going to play a load of minutes, and it didn't pan out for whatever reason. Cade Gordon's a good example of that last year. So yeah, I think, look, you make the decisions as best you can at the time, and Tottenham would have done that. And however it is, maybe it's been fantastic exposure because Min-Hyuk's had been part of a side that's probably going to win the league.
And of course, by recalling him, suddenly you're left with the headache of replacing him, aren't you?
Yeah, we had that miniature crisis, I'd say, in January, where at one point we just didn't have any wingers at all. So post Arsenal, Minichuk had been recalled. We had Franco and Harvey injured, Murph injured, Flo injured. I don't think we had any other wingers available at that point. We then signed Millie in the build-up to the Sheffield Wednesday game. He was the only one that we had on the pitch at the time. I know Seggs has played there, and he's done very well there, but Seggs isn't the winger. So yeah, we had a difficult spot in Jan where we had to think fast and recruit, as we did with Millie and as we did with Keshi. We've had a big impact. And then hence at the back end of the window, when we still didn't necessarily have that strength in depth because of Murph's injury, we decided to take Gus on as well.
And finally, what's the injury latest, please?
There's no obvious change from what you'd see at the weekend. Terry and Keshi will most likely miss the rest of the season. They're going to have scans this week, but very unlikely with the 2-week window they're going to make it back. And yet, I don't think we'll have anybody additional for the squad on Tuesday.
So I saw Franco Ume training on the pitch as well after the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely no way near.
Okay.
So it'll be doing pitch work, but still a couple of months away.
Thank you.
Cheers.